Okay, next question.
All right, the next question is from Greg, and he's asking if you will pray for him. He says he wants to be a stronger Christian, a better father, and a loyal husband. And then he goes on to say how much he enjoys the show and is inspired by the content.
Greg, thank you so much for asking me to pray for you. I consider that an honor. God tells us to pray for one another and to carry one another's burdens. And the fact that you have a burden to be a better Christian, a more loyal husband, a better dad for your kids, that's awesome. So yes, I will pray for you that God will give you a deep heart of love for God, love for your wife, and a devotion and loyalty to raising your kids in the way they should go.
Well, the Democrats don't want to do debates. I know Marianne Williamson and RFK Jr. want to debate. What do you think about that?
Well, I understand why he doesn't want to do it. I mean, I truly understand why he doesn't want to do it. But they are, there's a big difference. Although, in the case of RFK, I've seen polls where he's at 20%. That's not bad. But I understand why he doesn't want to do it. Look, when you're running for office and you have, in his case, let's say he has a 30 or 40 point lead, why would he do it? Now, people are going to say, well, he can't do it. I actually think he can't do it, if you want to know the truth. I don't think he's capable of doing it. But why would he do it? Especially because of that. Why would he do it? If he's got a 30 or 40 point lead, which is what he's got, I mean, I don't think RFK expects that he's going to be debating. He's a very smart guy, by the way. I don't think he expects to be debating Biden.
You've spent time with him, RFK. Tell me about him.
I have.
Is he a formidable competitor?
He's a very smart person, yeah. I know a lot of the members of that family, and, he's a very smart guy. And he's hit a little bit of a nerve. I think he really has. And a lot of Democrats I know want to vote for him. But again, if he's at 20% and if Biden has a big lead, number one, Biden can't debate him because he's not capable. And number two, why would he debate him? For that reason, but also, why would he debate him if he's probably got it locked up? I don't see RFK Jr., I don't see him getting the nomination under any circumstances.
And that was the sad truth, at least back in July of 2013, July of 2023. And that's what really got me thinking, this would be a great story to follow. This would be great to follow this and see where does this go? How can you have RFK Jr. thrown in there with the likes of President Trump and Biden? The story writes itself, and the story did pretty much write itself. So what we're going to do with this series is I'm going to be going through my book, just going to read through the book, take a look at all of the different chapters and see how far we can get little by little, inch by inch. So we'll start here. We are going to look at the website, kennedyandtrump.com. I'm going to post that in the chat as I always do. And we'll just begin by reading this and going through it. So you can go to kennedyandtrump.com right now. Just check my audio. Yep. You can go to kennedyandtrump.com right now. It will take you right here. A few ways to read the book. You can click on the book here, click on read more, or just scroll down a little bit. You can buy the book or just go to free download and get the free PDF right there. And that's exactly what we are going to do today. We're just going to read through it. If I can, if it'll let me. Won't let me make it bigger. I think I had this problem before. Let me exit out of full screen. Okay, so I won't be able to do it in full screen, but that's okay. I can do it this way too. So 176 pages, and that is if you count everything, every little page that it must be. But this is it. We're going to go through the introduction. That's 6 pages. Part 1, getting to know you. Page 9 to 65. Part 2, fight, fight, fight. You can imagine what that's about. Page 69 to 97. And then part 3, the unity party. Page 103 to 137. And the conclusion, page 141 to 152. And you got to have a source list. Always need to have a source list. So we are going to start with the introduction, of course. Where else would we start here? Again, you can get this right now, get it for free. And here we go. Hope for a healthy debate. We have seen a shift in leadership in this country, And we have witnessed the social justice warriors and the progressive extremists sweep through our neighborhoods, leaving burnt out cities, devastating economies, broken schools left in tatters, a moral wasteland for our children, and people who fully intend to occupy seats of power and civil government to usher in a new secular humanist socialist America. That's from Kirk Cameron. Very timely right now when you think about what is actually happening in the streets right now. And that was something that Kirk Cameron said definitely at least 3 or 4 months ago, maybe even longer. But it fits, and it's the best way to start a book. I love starting this show off with Kirk Cameron praying for me because I definitely need it. I'm sure we all do. And I just noticed that it is not sharing. So I apologize for that. But here we are. Hope for a healthy debate. All right. Good thing you got to have a couple screens, some monitor screens too. Go, Kennedy, go. Robert Francis Kennedy Jr. is the third of 11 children from Robert and Ethel Kennedy. He is the husband of actress Cheryl Hines and father of 7 children, including 1 with Hines and 6 from his 2 previous marriages. Kennedy graduated from Harvard University, the London School of Economics, and has a law degree from the University of Virginia. He is the chief litigation counsel for Children's Health Defense and author of 2 New York Times best-selling books, Crimes Against Humanity in 2005 and The Real Anthony Fauci in 2021. Kennedy was 10 years old when his uncle, President John Fitzgerald Kennedy, was assassinated in Dallas, Texas, and 14 when his father, Senator Robert Francis Kennedy, was murdered in Los Angeles, California. RFK Jr. may be the most prominent and credible person who remains skeptical about both assassinations. Kennedy believes the CIA was involved in his uncle's death and does not believe Sirhan Sirhan murdered his father. Kennedy describes himself as a science-based human being and was taught a powerful lesson by his father at an early age. Quote, "My father told me when I was a little boy that people in authority lie, and the job in a democracy is to remain skeptical," said Kennedy. "I've been science-based since I was a kid. Show me the evidence and I'll believe you, but I'm not going to take the word of official narratives." On October 9, 2023, Kennedy announced he was leaving the Democratic Party, but would continue to run for President of the United States as an independent candidate. Immediately, 4 of Kennedy's siblings, Rory Kennedy, Kerry Kennedy, Joseph P. Kennedy II, and Kathleen Kennedy Townsend, attacked their brother for choosing to run as an independent candidate in the 2024 presidential election. In a joint statement on Twitter, the siblings called Kennedy's decision to run as a third-party candidate against Joe Biden dangerous to our country. "Bobby might share the same name as our father, but he does not share the same values, vision, and judgment. Today's announcement is deeply saddening for us. We denounce his candidacy and believe it to be perilous for our country." This shows how out of touch with reality some of the Kennedy family members were. Were the Fantastic Four unaware of the dangers over the last 4 years under the Biden administration? How could they turn a blind eye to all of the harm Biden had done since 2021? Would their father want them to play politics by condemning their brother? Can you imagine Senator Robert F. Kennedy doing something similar to his brothers and sisters? Shame on the 4 siblings. They forced their brother to defend himself publicly. Kennedy responded by making sure people knew those 4 members of his family have strong, long friendships with President Biden. Kennedy also made a point to say he loved them, even though they disagreed with him. Kennedy would separately state his political views were closely aligned with those of his father and uncle. There is strong evidence to support that statement, a very important statement. Because when you think about the Fantastic Four who spoke out against their brother, and then you think about Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who do you think lines up more with President John F. Kennedy and Senator Robert Kennedy? You can decide for yourself. Run, Trump, run. Once upon a time in 1999, Minnesota Governor Jesse Ventura believed Donald Trump should run for the President of the United States, according to Trump's book, The America We Deserve, published in January of 2000. Recently, there have been some new names suggested for the presidency, and one of them is mine, wrote Trump. Minnesota Governor Jesse Ventura strongly encouraged me to run. Trump called Governor Ventura the embodiment of the political qualities America needs. Given the choice between another slate of stale professionals and Jesse's mixture of basically common sense principles and straight talk, it is no contest. He has convinced me that we need the same combination in the White House. So President Trump was inspired then by Governor Jesse Ventura. And you have somewhat of an endorsement back in 1999. Of course, we know Jesse Ventura's view has changed since then. Reading on. Trump recognized people like Governor Ventura were the wave of the future in politics. Ventura was able to open the door for other non-politicians to get elected to high office from here on out. Jesse may be the exception today, but straight shooters like him will be the rule tomorrow. How right Trump was. The two met back in the 80s when Trump hosted several World Wrestling Federation events, including WrestleMania 4 and 5. It is the only time in history where WWF's WrestleMania event was held in the same venue for 2 years in a row. Trump sat front row during the entire event both years while Jesse Ventura played the bad guy on commentary. In real life, Jesse Ventura was an American hero, even before he spoke out publicly about John F. Kennedy's assassination and the events of September 11, 2001. Just like President Trump, Ventura knows what it's like to be falsely accused of something. They're both successful businessmen in their own profession. They both love our country, and they both like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. At some point, Ventura changed his mind about President Trump and compared him to Charles Manson back in 2024. During an appearance on the Oprah Winfrey Show in 1988, Trump was asked if he would ever run for president. Probably not, he told Oprah, but I do get tired of seeing the country ripped off. Trump said he would make America's allies pay their fair share. Trump went on to say if he ever did run for president, he would have a strong chance of winning the highest office in this great nation. I think I'd win, said Trump. I tell you what, I wouldn't go in to lose. I've never gone in to lose in my life, and if I did decide to do it, I think I'd be inclined. I would say that I would have a hell of a chance of winning. We as the family of faith are expected to simply bow down to the new moral authority, to accept the new society, and to fall in line with the new way that things are run, Kirk Cameron. Like his son would do in 2023, RFK Sr. ran against the incumbent of the Democrat Party back in 1968. Kennedy said his father was running against a war in 1968, referring to President Johnson and the Vietnam War. He was running at a time of unprecedented polarization of our country, Kennedy continued, and he had a chance of winning. That hopelessness in his campaign freed him to tell the truth to the American people. Back in 1978, a young RFK Jr. was on the Good Day show to discuss his first book, Judge Frank M. Johnson Jr., a biography. Unsurprisingly, the topic of his father and uncle was brought up by the host. Kennedy was asked if he was frightened when he pondered going into politics. Well, I didn't necessarily say I was going to go into politics, said Kennedy. I mean, I think I've got a lot of thinking to do. You have to think twice about it, one of the hosts cautioned Kennedy. Does it frighten you at all? A soft-spoken Kennedy simply answered, I think that's an occupational hazard at this point. I think there's so much that you can do through politics or through some kind of public service. The host then asked Kennedy how he would handle being in a fishbowl within the Kennedy dynasty. Having such an illustrious family, such a big family, you're in a fishbowl. You can't escape it. Is it tough to handle? I think that I probably learned to deal with that when I was much younger, Kennedy answered. I think we've all learned to sort of take the good with the bad. I think that the advantages of the position that I was raised in really outweighed the disadvantages. If anyone was being groomed from an early age to make America great again, it was Kennedy. Though there was another man who seemed up to the task as well. A young Donald Trump was on the late night show with David Letterman on December 2nd, 1987. The pre-recorded segment aired 20 days later on December 22nd. In an interview with Letterman, Trump discussed his first book, Art of the Deal, co-written by journalist Tony Schwartz. At that point in his life, Trump focused mostly on real estate and casinos, and a little bit of wrestling, obviously. Letterman playfully grilled Trump about how much money he was worth, but Trump was more focused on the seating arrangement. Mr. Trump wanted to know why his seat was at such a low level. You know, I'm looking at Letterman. He's got this stage rigged, folks. Just so you know, that seat is a good 6 inches higher than my seat. And so am I, Letterman quickly responded. Trump was asked if he had any interest in becoming the mayor of New York City after having some harsh words for then Mayor Ed Koch. Trump quickly shut down the idea, so Letterman moved on to the subject of New Hampshire drafting him for president. Trump was tired of all the countries who were taking advantage of America. It's a shame what's happening, Trump told Letterman. Japan, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, everybody's taking advantage of the United States. People know that if certain people are running a country, that it won't happen. When you look at Japan not paying for the defense, we're defending Japan. We're losing billions and billions of dollars. We're fighting for aid, help, and for farmers, and for this and that. And it's a shame. The Japanese folks, who I respect greatly, they're not treating us fairly. Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, they're not paying us anything for the services we're rendering. And I think it's a disgrace. I think people look at certain people, maybe me. If I were in a position, this country, believe me, would not be ripped off like it is. It is just being ripped off so badly by our so-called allies. Donald Trump sought to clarify he was not trying to be disrespectful to Japan. I have tremendous respect for the Japanese. I do a lot of business with the Japanese, and they smile about it too. They know it. The country is losing billions and billions of dollars to Japan, and we can't afford to lose. When pressed by Letterman if he had plans to run for president, Donald Trump stated clearly, "I'm not going to run for president. I just think that there's so many ways that this country can straighten itself out, and we're not going about those ways. Cutting farm aid is not the appropriate thing. Cutting health for the homeless and help for the poor and welfare, certain things can be done that really will mean big dollars to this country, and those things are not being done right now." Letterman wasn't convinced. "Sitting here," said Letterman, "listening to this stuff, it seems to me you are dying to get some public platform to superimpose those feelings upon the American awareness." "Maybe so, but I'm not," Trump responded. "I would like to have the feelings known and let somebody else do it. It can be done. If the ball is carried correctly, it can be done." The segment ended with David Letterman reminding the future president, "Yeah, but if you want something done right, do it yourself," Trump answered. 30 years later, that's exactly what Trump would do. That is the introduction to the book that I have begun to go through and will continue to go through and continue to read on of the book Kennedy and Trump. I am probably going to do the worldwide distribution very soon. And I appreciate everybody for joining this, for watching this on the first episode of this new show, this new podcast that I will also be putting up on Spotify too. Why not? Kennedy and Trump book reading number 1. This was a lot of fun. And this book was it was a lot of fun to write. And it's interesting to go and read it now after I've taken a little break, calmed down a little bit from it, moved on, working on some other books. It's nice to just kind of go back and read this like how I did with the David Crowley book too. Hey, Rick, how are you, my friend? Good to chat with you. Definitely need to chat with you soon. And so that will do it for right now. I had a lot of fun reading this, and I will be back probably maybe Saturday. We'll continue on because as you can see, we have a lot to go through. We're going to read through part 1, Getting to Know You. This is a long, long chapter. And this next chapter will cover Kennedy and Trump getting to know each other. Everything leading up to the assassination attempt. So there's a lot of ground to cover there. And like I said, it's been great. It's been a lot of fun. God bless you all. I will be back hopefully this Saturday. And until then, thank you for watching, for listening. If you're listening to this on Spotify, or if you're watching this on YouTube, God bless you all.